That's good. That's so good. All right. Go ahead and call our September meeting to order. Any changes to the agenda at all? Motion to approve the agenda.
So
Second. Fair say aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Go through the consent items. I did hear the new lawnmower is a big hit.
I don't
I just pulled it. He said it was a Ferrari one.
Good deal.
on that it's bad, it's great.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably bad as fall now.
It
rain. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're used to that.
So the day that we were gonna go get it, or they were delivering whatever, he came in, and he's like, did you want me to do that? Was I supposed to? And I said, just got to think about that, Don. I said, if you want to go, you can, otherwise I'll have somebody else go, and I'll just send them. Well, I was thinking about maybe doing it the McWhorter way, which means that you're decorating it and simply throw in some extra blades or something. I said, why don't you just go ahead and go?
Have that face-to-face talk, yeah, I've heard about those.
He was so funny.
Yeah.
We got me like, you know what I'm talking
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions? Ben? Oh, make a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Second. Fair say aye.
Aye.
Consent items are approved. Correspondence. Form goes Sue.
I know you all just studied the email I sent out yesterday. The focus for it, I'll explain the reasoning behind it, and then I'll explain why I had what I did in there, is because there is increasing discussion these days about skill sets not being as high as what employers would like to have and what people could make better use of in their personal lives. And there are some schools, and I'm starting my 21st year for teaching for University of Maryland, is one of the ones that is working on ways to try to improve these. Now, we already use international standards. So what I put in the attachment to the email for you, one was, and I included the link from the national assessments, so you could go out and check them, but the print screens I put in there just pointed out that there is a big difference between basic skills and proficiency levels. And we're increasingly focusing on proficiency levels and applied real world skill sets where I'm teaching. And this fall, we made a bunch of changes to help the students see that they're going to focus on that, because those are now going to be a part of their academic record, along with the courses that they are taking, plus the grades they get in the courses. So the activities we have in there are helping them with real world applications and applying the concepts that the courses are using in order to be able to demonstrate skill sets that they can apply out in the real world, whether it's with a job or with their life. And I know I mentioned before with some presentations here that mental exercises are not that much different than the physical body exercises. You apply your body to a whole bunch of things. Well, applying mental concepts across disciplines, which is what we're set up to do at that university, and not the only one. To help the students learn how to do that. And in fact, I have a daughter-in-law who's now teaching with no advanced degree, just a college degree in the biology department at Iowa State, because she had 20 years working at the USDA Animal Disease Lab, doing tests, applying all of her biology skills. And now they have her teaching because they need people with real world experience. And that's not the only place that's doing that. So the other information that I included in that handout had to come from my particular course, which just opened last week and the activities started today. And what it is, it's kind of like the very last thing in there after all of the information for particular exercise activities throughout the course. There's something at the end that tells the students, and that's what I included to show you what skills they need to be pulling from that in order to apply them in the real world, because the activities are coming from the real world and applications, and they're being assessed. Those are the activities they're doing based on the concepts we happen to be looking at for that particular point in time. And this is helping them learn how to do that. So I'm not sure where your discussions are here, but I thought I would at least point this out. And I've got another place to go next month because the university library now has a podcast for how to effectively use AI, which is another work-related skill that students need to learn how to do, not just for schoolwork, but out in the real world, both for their own personal lives and for work across a variety of disciplines. So I wanted to show that to you next time. So I thought I'd start with this one just to show you we're doing that. We're not the only school doing that. So if you can start more conversations that to get up to proficiency levels, that would help your students tremendously. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Okay, principal reports, Clay's gone.
Yeah, Cheryl's at a class tonight, so you can join us, but I'll report. It's over.
You want to go first? I guess I'll go first.
You guys go first.
Yeah. So this week at the elementary, we have started our fall fast testing window. So today or this week, we started math, which means next week we'll be focused on reading. Those are screeners that we do 3 times per year. So in the fall and winter and the spring, and then I'll report back to you guys on the numbers as far as what those look like. Again, going back to looking and just seeing where our students are. It is a screening tool for us to decide, is what we're doing inside the classroom having impact? And if it's not, then we need to make some decisions. And if it is, how are we going to extend it? So we'll have those big conversations at our data days coming up in the next month. But these initial rounds of screenings will help give us the information that we need to help have those conversations. Again, it's just another way that we're looking to find the needs and fulfill the needs of all of our students. So it's good data that we'll dive into deeper in the next month to make some bigger decisions. We also had our back to school common area plan teaching. So a lot of stuff back to the school in the elementary is around routines and making sure the expectations are there, setting social contracts. With that comes a common area plan teaching schedule. So we're looking at the restroom, at the playground, at the cafeteria, and making sure that we're all on the same page as far as what those expectations are in each one of those common area plans. And it also helps build and create some data for us as we're starting to see some of those behaviors in one of those areas that we can respond to that data. So again, it's another tool for us to create and collect data to help respond to data. And this one more specifically around the behaviors of students as opposed to the academics. So that's been in place, and the teachers obviously have hit the ground running with that without realm. But just another way that we are trying to collect any and all data to help support our students. We did have our first Monday PL at the elementary side. We did a half day or a morning session of writing specific PL. That stems from some reflections that we had for teachers last year and previous years of where did they want to have an emphasis on. At the elementary, they were really looking to see how we could bolster our writing instruction and just getting some more training around writing. So we brought in a writing and ELA specialist and Shannon Harkin, and she provided us half-day PL around writing, looking mostly at our standards in writing and making sure that it's aligned the way that we want to. And then we'll go into some scope and sequence to make sure that it is filtering the way that we want to throughout the grade levels. So something that I'm hopeful that, I've provided for our teachers is that something that they requested, they wanted more information about to strengthen their own skill set, but also ultimately is going to have an impact on our students inside the classroom. So that's been good, which along with, which I know we'll get to with Atlas Rubicon later, is on the second part of our day, but we did have some elementary specific PL that first Monday. We do have some of our win grouping and our math win stuff has already started, so we don't necessarily wait until this first fall screening window to make some decisions. We already had data from previous years, so we've already got those things rolling, and those groups are already started. One of the changes that we've had with our math win was we're really now having a fluency focus on math win. So again, we do a screener or a fluency screener to figure out where students are in their needs as far as adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and putting kids into groups that is really school-wide. So going into different classrooms to get the instruction that they need on exactly what skill they need. And that's, really what our focus is. We want to get it to a point where we're going from concrete to representational to an abstract fluency for all of our math functions. And so the idea is to just make sure that we understand exactly where students are and give them 3 and then 6 weeks worth of instruction on that exact skill. And hopefully within that time frame, then they'll move on to another group to focus on a new skill. So that idea in math win is kind of transformed over the last couple of years, and now we're really focused on that fluency side of things. On Friday this week, we are having a tree planting event. So our Baxter Hometime Pride and Baxter Big Bolt Little Bolt program received a grant that we are going to be able to plant $2,500 worth of trees. 14 trees around the school and at the park, right? Something they applied for and got, we've got in the previous years, hadn't for the last couple, but are back now at it, and it's something that's super exciting. It looks as if 60 of our middle school and high school students and 60 of our elementary students will be involved in that, along with 20 of our community members to help with that event. So something that's going to be something that obviously is awesome, and I love the fact that we partnered with our not only our community, but having our students a part of it as well. So
Can we call out whoever did the grant maybe?
Anna Travis, was a big piece of this and organizer of it, and obviously the big piece of the Big Bolt Little Bolt program for many years. And just really one of the best things that we do here, partnering our youngest with our oldest and having a mentor for them throughout the year. So that's been great. And the last thing that I have is that the elementary started our year again, like with our Butter Braid fundraiser, again, for something that is, for updates for playground, for anything that we need for rewards or incentives, as part of our Baxter Way stuff. So we did raise over $2,000 again this year. So hopefully something we can put back into the playground, but also to help motivate our students and make sure that they continued their continued success with behaviors around our school. So.
How's it going?
How's what go?
It seems like lots of work happening, but just how has it been going? That's to start the year off, and it's
I will-
with 4-day behavior.
I will say that, well, with the 4-day thing, our teachers were ecstatic this week, right? It was the first time that they truly felt that there was a Monday off. I know we had Labor Day, but just coming back, they were truly refreshed and, excited to be back, and also knows there's challenges with what's coming, right? Knowing that they're trying to balance the curriculum needs that they have. But that's been really receptive. I haven't heard anything negative on the 4-day week from anybody really. So that's been good. As far as it going in elementary, I got told you the first time, we have a very veteran staff. So for me, it's super sleek. They know exactly what they need to do and accomplish. So they just hit the ground running. And so we have things in place that they know that they need to do. And I can be pretty hands off in a lot of it. Deanne takes a huge piece of that too, with her running all this, the math win, the intervention stuff. Those are all pieces that she's taken on and really is excelling at. So from my end, as elementary side, yeah, we hit the ground, we're rolling. I mean, we feel like we've been at this now for far more than a month. So I'd say it's been great. So
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Jerry.
The audit.
Julie's got the audit on there. I'll let her speak to some of this, but she's kind of pointed you to a couple of areas. The MD&A, which is on pages 7 through 15. I think maybe the biggest thing is if you look on there, is the improvement in our financial position, honestly. Scrolling through this is 60 pages, so be a quiz on it next board meeting. I would point you to in the 2024 financial highlights. Really, the district's general fund balance increased from 224,000 to 748,000.
That like page 13, 14.
That's page 7. Sorry. So certainly a trend back in the direction that we were hoping to get to. Obviously not, we haven't landed where we want to be yet, but I think that I think we're optimistic that maybe we'll accomplish the ratios both from solvency and UAB in a shorter time span maybe than we had anticipated, which is a good thing. We're always going to be conservative in the way we do things, and I won't say paint a bleak picture, but we also want to make sure we're not too far on the other end where we're projecting that we're going to be way over and then fall short. So we will attend CFPM financial projection modeling in October and kind of go through the process and be able to provide a little more insight on where we think we'll land throughout the year. So very positive news from that standpoint. She's also highlighted here on 60 to 61, the findings comments, really a very clean audit. I will say that so that Julie doesn't have to toot her own horn. I'll toot it for her here. Really a very clean audit. The one thing that when you look at the findings for small schools, every small school, when we talk about internal control deficiencies, there's going to be something on segregation of duties, simply because we don't have 7 different people in the business department that can handle all those 7 different areas separately. So we segregate them as much as we can. We get as many eyes and hands on different things to verify. But it's just difficult unless you have a business department of 7 or 8 people to avoid that. And really, I don't know of any 1A school in the state that doesn't have a comment of segregation of duties on their audit report. Anything you want to add?
You did good.
Are there any, like, looking through the different recommendations or things that they've noted, are there any of them like repeat that we're concerned about or new that?
I mean,
you
the
expect to happen?
segregation of duties is repeated every year.
Yeah,
Outside of
besides
that, no.
On certified enrollment, we understated our students. We really didn't understate them wholly. We understated them in one section and they were overstated in another section. So they're talking about certified enrollment. We understated our certified enrollment. So when that happens, there's just an adjustment made and it happens on the following year, but that gets put into your
Report.
your findings. Yeah. So. And I feel like I'm not the person who enters in the student information into our student information system, and then it gets uploaded to the DE. I handle the open enrollment to be sure that we're counting those, but I feel like the dual credits and the part-time students, it gets a little convoluted, because if you're just one period, it's 0.1, or if it's more than a period, or if it's just activities only, then it's something different. So it gets a little technical there. And so I'm not surprised. It seems like we do have some adjustments on those. Yeah.
Is there a system that others use to like create that FTE or something? I think which I don't use, but like the equivalency counter, or is there just manual that somebody has to input? Oh,
Well,
I know Joe is only 2 periods.
It's all indoor SIS.
Yeah.
So it's all derived in JMC. There's always a factor of human error, right?
Mhm.
And so, I don't know that I've been in a district, over the past 10 years that hasn't had an adjustment for certified enrollment just because of the different weightings. And if you miss something here, it's just, so we tried it, I mean, yes, to answer your question, yes, there's a system, but,
But there's
Somebody
so many,
There's so
so many
many
different
moving
kinds of
parts.
weightings. It could be your dual enrollment. It could be the classes that you're taking at DMAC, like the how they fit into the CTE. It could be your special ed, your supplemental weightings. Also the operational sharing are supplemental weightings, which we wouldn't count those, they do, but that's just another arm of the supplemental weighting. So there's just not like one category of supplemental weighting.
So we can't just have somebody go into a room with a pencil and be like.
Well, believe it or not, we just had our conversation. And when it comes to certified enrollment, we all talk about butts and seats. Yeah, that's what we call it. Every school district calls it that, and that's what we do on
Okay.
October 1st.
Looked on, any expenses, there's no
right,
writers there, so. The internal control is always a big thing, but I think between all of our eyes on it all the time, and obviously Julie doing a good job.
Yeah, so, that always gets me, right? I want to have, like, I've said this before, I would like to have a spotless audit, not have that segregation of duties, And Mr. Peterson's humbly told me that I'm always gonna have a segregation of duties on there, that I need to get over it, but I can't. And so, when you read through each one of those areas, the information that is on there is specifically what I told them that we do. Because I want them to know that it's just not me handling it from beginning to end, that we do have 3 different sets of eyes on it almost all the time. There are obviously instances where it may be, out of the ordinary, but, we try really hard.
And they turned this one around like way quicker, wasn't it?
Well, this one's actually, we're still a year behind. But you're right, we just got one
I was gonna say.
in the
it's just went
spring
through.
and now we have another. So, I think that they have gotten new help because I'm seeing new names and I'm actually, scheduled for November for this year's audit now. So I feel like they're getting caught up. So after they were really having a hard time with, well, first it was a medical condition of the actual certified accountant there, and then they couldn't get accountants hired and others were leaving, and it's just been an ongoing issue, but I think that they're getting there. Good.
See the stuff we've been doing is starting to take form.
Yeah, I think we'll be pleasantly surprised when we go to the CFPM. I just certified the reports this week, the big annual reports with the DE, so they'll thumb through all of those and then we'll be able to start getting numbers off of those to plug in at the CFPM. That'll tell us just how well we are doing, or this last year was. It's been hard, but I feel like we're getting there.
Any other questions on the report or the audit?
Good job, thank you.
Approve the 23-24 district audit.
So moved.
Second. Fair say aye. It's been approved. The nutrition report.
yeah, so you get a kind of a 1-page nutrition report there, there's a couple different things, our balance on July 1 of 2024 compared to our ending balance of this last June. I know you might say, well, our balance is increasing. It is, but remember, we will be monitoring this. A couple things about this account that I want you to be familiar with is this is what's called an enterprise account. So truly, our nutrition account is almost like it's a separate business from the school. Because it is separate. It's what's called an enterprise account. So, yes, we saw an increase in our ending cash balance, but remember, we also made some adjustments and increases to kitchen staff wages. So, well, I think we'll have a better picture as at the end of this year on where we're turning with that account, because they do kind of slap you on the wrist a little bit if it gets too high. They tell you to spend it down, and then they put 200 restrictions on what you can spend it on. So it's kind of a bit of a game to figure out what can we spend that account down on and what can't we. And then down below, it just kind of gives you a breakdown of meal served and those types of things.
I think this position is also partially due to all the generous donations to
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
accounts. So just want to point
Yep.
out again.
Yeah, so as part of our year-end process, we have to actually carry that liability of the negative accounts, right? And so it was almost exactly to the, I think it was off by $30 compared to last year that we're still negative. We haven't gotten any better. Even with,
Fun process.
it's a maddening thing. But it wasn't worse. That's what I was looking at. It wasn't worse because I was expecting it. I think what you can take away from the meals served is that for a few years now, we've been trying to get a better participation at for the breakfasts. But they have been sort of slightly declining over the last few years. You can see here that we are just inching above where we were last year in breakfasts. And lunches are a little bit down. And so, but it's not terrible, not alarming. So I think this year here is the break off point because we're now 162 days as opposed to, so it's going to be a little bit harder to match. It'll be a new starting point.
Yeah.
We'll have a new starting point. So.
Motion through the 24-25 nutrition report. So. Second. Favor say aye.
Right.
Nutrition report's approved.
Yeah, let's move on to the 2080 agreement with City of Baxter for work experience. So certainly commend the city for the work they've done on this. Certainly not something that is required by law for us to have with each employer, but I think it's a nice agreement for us to have with the city. So this just creates a partnership with the district and the city to provide any students interested in work experience to work with the City of Baxter and for the City of Baxter and be paid to do so. Kind of outlines where the liability stands, and really most of it lies with the city. So they've kind of gone through the process of putting together the legal paperwork as well as consent forms, student job description, and participation agreements with that. We do have one student after this is approved that will begin work with the city for work experience.
So is this just with the Public Works Department?
For this, yes, for this it is.
Yeah, just wondered if their office, somebody's interested in business or.
Yeah, and I think it's probably written that way for this one because that's what the interest that we had from the student level was. But yes, I would certainly say that if we wanted to branch out on this and there was another, office position that they wanted to do work experience with and they were willing to, we can certainly expand this. Again, it's 2080 agreement, but it's a little odd in the 2080 agreement because usually there's something that we're committing to as well. And we're just committing to provide a student if we have one interested.
But does the student get any credit?
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
they get credit,
Yep.
okay.
It's a work-based learning credit. Yeah. And just so all are aware, with our work-based learning program, our those who we partner with, it is their option to pay them or not, because they are receiving credit. So it's always nice when they do though, right? For the kids, and I think it just creates a nice partnership.
Good teacher. So we need to approve that then?
Yeah.
The actual agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to approve the 2018 agreement with the city of Baxter. So move.
Second.
Fair to say aye?
Aye.
2018 is approved.
Okay.
It's fun stuff.
Yeah, so we'll move on to the allowable growth and supplemental aid, or MSA. It's a request to the SBRC, and I'll explain this here a little bit, for our special ed deficit. Received a little frantic call on this, because this is a lot higher maybe than it has been in years past. So how this works is, this is basically what we've overspent specific to special ed. Now, we can request authority back. Okay, remember, we talk about the two major indicators of financial health. We're talking about our UAB, or our authorized budget, and solvency, which is our cash. Authority in essence is our credit limit, right? It's our credit card. So we can request $160,000 back in spending authority with the ability to spend it. However, we still have to pay the deficit with cash. This number is not high, respectively speaking. I can tell you every district in the state is experiencing this type of special ed deficit right now, just because of whether it's labor, more labor that needs to be provided, depending on what an IEP states as far as a paraprofessional is concerned, or more resources. So while this seems high for us comparatively speaking, for other districts our size, it really is not. It's really in line. It doesn't mean it doesn't create some areas that we certainly have to think about, right? So we have this $160,000 deficit, we're gonna pay with that out of our cash, and now we have to be very mindful of our cash reserve levy. And ensuring that when we adjust levy rates, not our overall tax rate, because we want that to stay stable, right? If not, maybe bring it down, but we want it to stay stable. We may have to start making some adjustments on what we levy and cash reserve based upon this. Whether that means we pull off of our management levy, whether that means when we retire some other debt service levies that we adjust it that way. It's just something that we have to plan moving forward.
Will we have this deficit for sure this next year because we didn't anticipate? it
I just
being
don't-
high?
I don't see it going down, just to be quite honest with you.
But like, can we forecast it higher so it doesn't get perceived as a deficit? Like, I'm trying to figure out.
So you get funds that are earmarked special ed.
Yeah.
You spend all of those dollars on your special ed. You can't spend it on anything else.
Right.
Then there's also a portion of your general fund expenditures that also go in to help with the special ed, okay? If you spend all of your money, the goal is to spend all your money, because on special ed, if you don't spend it, they take it back from you.
Correct.
So the goal is to break zero, right? And so, for the most part, we generally will run about 20,000 over. And what that means is that we spent all the special ed money that they gave us, and then 159,000 more. We still had to pay the bill, so that come out of the general fund more so than what we had anticipated.
Yeah.
The reason for that is more individualized student
Correct.
requirements.
And I think to answer the question, the answer is yes. When we go to the CFPM, we now know, instead of projecting a $20,000 deficit, we need to project a $160,000 deficit. Which then on the back end, we have to answer the question, where are we coming up with that, right? Because we know we're gonna be on the hook for it, and that's kind of where the cash reserve levy comes in on, okay, so we need to make sure that our levy rates are in line with what we're projecting for our expenditures. Yes, we can budget it in, But it wasn't, we need to make sure that not only can we budget it in, but we have. Yes,
Has to back that.
that's exactly right. So to answer your question, yes, we can.
I'm just like, so obviously we've already done the forecasting for this year, so we're too late for that, right?
Correct.
But
Yes,
Next year.
will we have this sticker shock next year? The answer is, I hope not. We should not, no. So what we're doing with this motion is asking for authority back from the state.
And that's a normal thing. We always ask for it.
yeah,
In fact, they would probably be calling us and saying, in fact, when I went to certify, I don't know, my fingers were thinking more so than my head was, and it actually popped up to me and said, are you sure that that's the amount that you want to ask for? Because I hadn't put in the right amount, right? Because you want to ask for every single penny. And so then they probably would have even called us and said, are you sure you don't want to ask for this level of growth? Because they expect you to.
If it's required to have one-to-one para, yeah.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's the discussion we had. There's no fluff
There's
within
no,
this deficit.
So is it a
It's-
funding problem?
Yeah.
Because this will be part of kind of SSA
exactly.
waiting and all. that.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's a funding problem.
does the loss of the AEA services impact this? at
well,
all?
so there's a couple of things within that. Yes, it can. Remember that 90% of the AA still does receive flow through, just not in the form of flow through. We have about $110,000 that has to go to the AA for special ed services. So we already have that built in. But we are noticing that a couple of things are happening. They're having to charge for more things than they have in the past, number one. Number two, what we're seeing within the district standpoint is as they see their staff decreasing, the workload and the things that maybe they have been doing in the past are falling on us. So yes, it has an impact on this as well.
Thanks to go.
Yes, my concern on that is,
Not necessarily for their services, but just,
well, I would say for the AA services, but my concern is the damage has been done. And I don't know that it can be reversed at this point. At the other district that I manage, they had 2 years ago, they had 65 employees in their media and general ed services. They now have 14. So the other thing we have to be cognizant about is how would we fund some of these services if we didn't have the AAA support and planning accordingly within that? We're still fortunate that we do because they're still providing us things like occupational therapy, speech therapy, and those types of things. This deficit would be, if they didn't provide those things still for the money that we pay them, we couldn't provide the things that they provide for the money that we give them on our own. It is something we do need to continue to be vocal about, yes.
This increase is, it basically mirrors what it is with general fund. It's basically 85% increase in payroll, salaries and benefits. And there was an increase in transportation due to requirements that students need during transportation. Those were
do
the
our
two
like
increases.
ELA situations fall under this bucket, or is that a different?
No.
Okay.
Fortunate, but
That's just it. There's no fluff, like
Yeah,
Mr. Peterson
yeah,
said,
it's-
we don't have any. And, you know, when an IEP says it, you shout.
questions. Take a motion to approve the allowable growth supplemental aid for the 24-25 school year.
Okay.
It's a roll call vote too. Corey, I probably didn't put that in there, but.
Yeah.
Tyler Akins,
Yes.
Ashley Kuchera,
Yes.
Ray Houseman,
Yes.
Corey Robinson.
Yes.
Thank you.
District offer.
Yeah, this is just it's a routine item. So this would just approve Allers and Cooney to be our law firm for the next school year. I would say they represent really close to 100% of the schools in the state if and are approaching 100. So
This doesn't necessarily mean that they would be the only,
Correct.
we still can
work with
go outside of
Yeah.
others.
they're just our official.
Good motion to approve Allers and Cooney for the law firm. So moved.
Second.
Mhm.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Approved. Like Haas is ready to roll.
You gonna do a little song at the end?
Oh, you want it?
Yep.
Hey, I'm not jumping.
You're gonna.
Ask. You are gonna do a song at the end. The one that ended to it.
So as we talk about this, we talk about professional learning, obviously it looks quite different this year, right? We don't have Monday late starts anymore. So we have 1 day a month. And the real major initiative is going to be what he's going to show you is what we're doing throughout this Rubicon, and it will be for the next 3 years. I'll let him speak a little bit more to the software program, but from the back end of it, you know, the focus is a little bit different from the elementary side and the secondary side. And I say that because our elementary staff has had more consistency and been here longer, so they're a little farther in the process with some of the curriculum mapping and vertical alignment. And our secondary staff is just kind of starting, so a lot of the work they're doing is unpacking the standards and aligning their units to standards. So this software program that we utilize now really is what will house all of this. The other major benefit to this program is if and or when legislation is passed that says everything has to be forward facing, this allows us to do that as well. I'll stop talking.
So I guess I'll kind of just walk you through what it kind of looks like. So this is the main page, and this is from the admin side. So this isn't what necessarily what the teachers will look like. Theirs will look much more user friendly for something that they would use on a day-to-day basis. But I guess what I'll do is I'll walk you through a couple of samples that they provided, at least one of the samples, and then I'll kind of show you what maybe one of ours, the elementary, currently looks like, so you can have an idea of where we want to get to and where we're currently at. So if I click on this, it's going to bring us into all of the units. So this is a sample social studies 6th grade, and what you have on the left is all of your units. On the right, you're going to see a scope and sequence, so you can see exactly when these units fall throughout the year, how long they are. So they know exactly what they're teaching and when they're teaching it. So that will be provided for every one of the units in each one of the in classes that they have at any level. So once I click into one of these, so you can see, we'll click into ancient Greece, and you can see what would be provided from, or what we're going to input, teachers will input. First question being, what do you want students to know and be able to do? This is where your standards were going to go. So I'll show you one at the elementary level that's more complete, but we would enter the standards that are accomplished within this particular unit. So those units will be here. Teacher will be adding that. So you can see what the things that they're going to be required to do over the next year, 2, 3, whatever years it takes to get this all accomplished. Also, if that is something that we want to make sure that this is something they utilize every single day, right? So within that, they have their essential questions. These are the unit long essential questions that they can come to refer to as they're teaching their unit. And then the next piece of our questions is how will we know if students have learned it? Well, that would be your assessment piece. So inside, they've entered the different assessments that would go along with this particular unit. You can see that you can attach it as documents. These are things that teachers will come in and they'll be able to attach their exact assessments to and inside of this. And then also how we respond when students don't learn. So what are we going to do in response if they don't learn it? What you can also see is that there's attachments. You can attach photos, anything that goes along with any type of the lesson plan or the unit could be entered into this particular piece. So this is one that's maybe a little bit more completed, I would say, at least has an idea of where it's going to go for this particular unit. There are more of a blank canvas type thing. So you can see this is all the stuff that's going to have to get inputted, right? These are samples, so they've already been inputted for us. But if you are just looking at it a lot of what the middle school and high school is gonna see is all these things blank currently, right? And just that's the work that they will have to do over the next couple of years to ensure that they have all of their units aligned and inputted within this Atlas Rubicon. Look back and see if I can get to courses. So those are all the sample units. Let's go to this one maybe. And try and show you maybe an elementary specific one that is something that we have already kind of pre-inputted. And the reason for that is a lot of the work that we have done over the last couple of years has been housed in documents and sheets and everywhere along our Google Drive, right? So if we were asked if somebody asked us to provide us with our curriculum, we would show you a bunch of different documents and sheets. And what Deanne has done over the last year is put it all into one central location. We then shared that one central location with Atlas Rubicon, and they were able to input a bunch of this stuff within. So I'll just show you a quick math fourth grade. So you can see all of our standards are over here to the left. So our plan and our goal is that this section will then not necessarily be standards. It will come out as actual units. And so it would say like geometry, or it would say patterning, or it would say addition, subtraction. Those units would be on the left. When you actually click into it, you can see the work that is accomplished. Within it, you can see that this is the standard, and here are the prerequisite standards that go along with it. Prerequisite meaning these are the skills the kids need in order to have success at this current standard. So if we were having a student that was having trouble with this particular standard, we would come to these prerequisite standards and say, okay, does the student have these skills accomplished? And if not, then that's maybe where we need to go and begin to try and bolster what they need. Again, the essential questions are listed. All the things come from what our previous work has accomplished. The learning targets are the thing that you're going to see on the board. So if you walked into a classroom, you would see these on a daily basis. These are the things that we want them to know and be able to do on a daily basis. Some of these learning targets may take a day. Some of them could take a week. So you may see them on a long period of time, but these are the things that you'll see up on the board. And then the vocabulary are the pieces that within that unit, we will be teaching these particular vocabulary words. With that, also then how we measure is our proficiency scales. This is really getting back into our SRG. So how are we giving a 4? Why are we giving a 4? Why are we giving a 3? Why are we giving a 2? Those things are all outlined within our proficiency scale. So you can just simply read through and you'll know exactly what needs to be accomplished from the student side to be able to be meeting the standard as a 3. Okay, and then at the bottom part, how will we know it's taking place? Again, now this gets into more of the specific day-to-day. You have questions then. So now we can go into this on a daily basis and say, what are the questions that we want to ask throughout this unit? We need to make sure that we're asking because these are the things that are probably going to be on an assessment at a later point. So really trying to start with the end in mind, saying that we know exactly what's going to be asked of them on the assessment. And these are the types of questions that would be there that we want to also input into our daily lessons. Again, then there's other things, extension activities that you can see some have already been embedded in here. So these are things that we will just continue to bolster. I mean, this is our I guess this is our blank canvas, right? And it's not very blank. There's a lot of stuff in here. But that doesn't mean that the work is done. We will continue to keep upgrading this to what exactly matches our different curriculum sources at the elementary. So this is just a snapshot of kind of where we currently stand in the work and we've had over the last couple of years. And that's already now been inputted. So now we just have to go in and make sure that it is factually up to date and make sure that it's in the right scope and sequence throughout the entire year. So there's still lots of work to be done in here. But you could see that we do have a lot of those pieces already in place on the elementary side. Anything else you want me to go through specifically for this?
No, maybe just ask questions.
Okay.
This is for that transitional process, right? I remember us talking a while back, if you have a teacher leave, a new one come in.
At the
This is kind
second,
of like.
at the
pick up-
secondary level specifically, yes.
Right.
So that was kind of one of the gaps we've had is there's nothing.
Right.
This prevents that.
So you leave, I come in,
You've got
I can
this.
pull this up, take the ball and run with it.
Correct.
Okay.
This is where I heard it. So I don't get into the weeds, but. But a little bit of it is no too, if there's ways we can support. But this helps with vertical tracking. So is there like how do you know, is it through conversations or is there something this tool does to showcase that what we're doing in 6th grade and moving into seventh grade makes sense? Or is that just conversation?
Those are team conversations. Yep.
Okay, so there's
Yeah.
nothing like mapped.
This is curriculum mapping, is what this is, right? And then so the conversations you're talking about are vertical alignment. So how do we know that we're transitioning sixth to seventh, seventh to eighth and those things? And those are more conversations. The one thing about vertical alignment is you can't accomplish vertical alignment until you've got curriculum mapping.
I'm thinking future state and also knowing AI is getting integrated with all these tools. If it's not there now, by the time everybody gets stuff updated, I would assume.
Yeah.
They will have gotten to the point where they can do some of that vertical mapping
100%.
in the tool.
Yep. Now, a lot of it, you can see the vertical alignment you can see already in here is right here, right? So you can see
Yeah,
with this particular standard, NBT 1, right? The things that go directly beneath it are in third grade are here, and the ones that go above it are right here in fifth grade. So you can see at one picture glance, these are the things that they should have done last year. Here's the things they're going to be doing next year. And that's how that all coexists.
and I think it's great. And then again, elementary's done fantastic work to create that. It's the transition from elementary to middle to
Right.
high
Yep.
school
Yeah.
that for sure is probably rockier and less
Yep.
defined.
And Chris, you may be able to help me. Do we know if the teachers have access to all of the things that I can see? Like, would they be able to, my fifth grade teacher be able to see the sixth grade math? Or only the
No.
units that they create?
It's just the units that they create. No, they'd be obviously to see the prerequisite
Yes,
standards
yes.
after that,
Yes.
but they wouldn't have access to those other ones. And so really the biggest thing with this is you can see where the elementary is at, right? The secondary is not at the same spot.
Absolutely, yeah.
So their biggest resource is time.
And so the question I was gonna ask is, we purchase curriculum. Does that are there certain curriculums that have imports just to go into here? Or is that not how it works?
I don't, you answer that, you're gonna answer that.
I don't think so. We have another program that does have that support, but this one doesn't. And the reason being, I think typically is because you're on a curriculum purchasing cycle, right? So when we look at this on the elementary side, if we were to go purchase a new curriculum in math in the next, say, 2 years, let's just say, we would have to go in and make sure that the scope and sequence now matches in this entire document to the new curriculum, right? So this is all based on what we currently use with Wonders and with IM. So this is going to be aligned directly to that. So if a curriculum source changes, that means we're going to have to go back in, we're going to have to change our scope and sequence. Now, that doesn't mean the standards have changed because those don't. Where they fall within the year may change.
And then once, again, future state, knowing where we are, being honest about it. When we get it completed. Is there a portion of this that has like automated reminders to, like, hey, you need to review the standard, nobody's evaluated it? And I don't know if the review cycle needs to be probably a year, but.
Yes, and so I would say completed is kind of a loaded word, right? I don't know that it's ever completed.
That there's something that's listed for all. of
Correct,
this
yes,
required is what
but,
I mean.
and the reason why it's maybe never completed is exactly what you just said. Because it's constantly being reviewed and evaluated, and I think this creates some sort of cycle, and I know administratively you can look as well to see when the last time.
Correct. I think on the teacher's end of it, so you're seeing the admin side of it, but on the teacher side of it, they will have a calendar on their front page. And so it'll tell them throughout that calendar what needs to be accomplished in that month or cycle. So we base everything off of a 6-week cycle in elementary. So all of these things will be based on that 6-week cycle. So that calendar will be reflective of that. So knowing exactly what needs to be accomplished in that 6-week cycle.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing from the administrative side too is, as we went through this process and worked through the hesitancy of those who have been here before, is getting the teachers to understand that this is our initiative, right? This is our initiative for this year, for next year, moving forward. This isn't, okay, we did this now for 3 years, and then that's kind of that can be kind of the concern from a teacher standpoint when you do any sort of initiative with a from a PD standpoint is they might call it the flavor of the week, right? Okay, so we're gonna do this for 2 years and we're gonna drop it. What we've said is no, like this is where we're dedicating our time at this point in time for these purposes.
I think it's very valuable. I'm sure that it is a huge pain in the butt, but can't underscore that enough, but it is very useful and very appreciated. Part of the like evaluation cycles, I wouldn't want all this heavy lift to then have to be done again at the same time every year.
Right.
We're just like bogging you down, you want it to be spaced out, so. It's just a little annoying all the time, really annoying.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, it's something that we hope is that this isn't something that just sits on the site and sits there, right? We want to make it something that is, I click on this every day to make sure that I know exactly what's going on for my unit, for my day, for my plan. So the better we can manipulate this site to make it as user friendly and daily for our teachers, the better it'll be for us.
Maybe kind of Ashley's point too, you know, a little bit off, like in say in 2 years, you looking at the math curriculum, it's just not right. We just don't feel comfortable with it. I want to be like, oh, we put all this work mapping the stuff out, maybe we should stick with it, you know. I guess what I'm trying to say, if it's not working, then maybe it's still worth the work to redo all this
Right.
with a better curriculum.
Correct.
I don't want to stick with a poor curriculum just because, we did all this work and, you know.
That's back to there. That's our data drives our decision making. So whatever our data is telling us will be what we need to do in here.
Thanks, everybody with the new teaching. I'm excited about it. But I have to do it, but I'm excited for what it means.
Like I say, it seems like we talked about it a couple years now, a few years, it's like, oh, yeah, we tried it, and you just said, oh, kind of hit and missed, and passed over, but we stick with it, I think, yeah.
Thank you. Paul.
Task,
Yep, of course.
is there any other questions? Rolling.
Yeah, we got one here. This is Lindsay Hopper, Sunny Life Colon goes a fourth grader to continue here after moving, so it opens up that ability to open and roll back.
Through the open roll back in.
So moved.
Say aye. Approved personnel.
We have one contract, which is Kayla Hudson for a nighttime custodial position. And then a couple volunteers to approve, taking Dalma and Trey and Travis for volunteer high school boys basketball coaches.
For the custodial position, how will that review cycle go?
Administrative, maybe I'll just do this.
Yeah. Just acknowledging that
Yeah.
it will.
Conflict of interest, absolutely.
You can take them all.
So we'll take a motion for the custodian and the 2 volunteer basketball coaches. So moved.
Second.
Fair say aye.
Aye.
Person is approved.
The lawnmower's a hit, you already said.
Yeah, I should.
Lawnmowers ahead, so we're back. Let's talk about the ag classroom a little bit.
Let's go through, I saw lawnmower repair or something.
So I did meet with a construction company, that had been out here before. And had them look at both buildings and facilities, and their strong recommendation was to upgrade what exists in the ag area. They actually said they would rather us switch them because we would end up paying a lot more money. But the concerns in the swap were going to be, number one, the space, the utilization of space and how big that multi-purpose room is. It's not as big as you think it is. Number two, the expense to insulate, plumb, HVAC, because the heat that's out there it works fine for what it is doing now, but it would not if we transformed it. On the back end of it, when they looked at the shop space, one of the things they talked about, or the ag room space, I should say, one of the things they talked about is it's difficult to see what it could be right now because of what it is. But they were fairly confident in that the structure and the foundation, the bones of the building were good, and that it could be renovated to be what we need it to be. Might look a little bit different. We may look to expand on exactly the purpose of the building. One of the discussions that we've had is truly utilizing the entire space. One of the pressing needs that we have internally is dry storage space for custodial. And what I mean by that is typically what we would like to do is order once or twice a year in bulk because we see cost savings in doing so. We don't have the storage space to do that right now. We also don't have the ability to store it where out there right now because the building isn't sealed. And so, any paper towels or toilet paper would get eaten by mice, most likely. So what they're gonna do is provide me some cost estimates on a couple of different things, and then it's kind of start working on some rendering pieces, but. And talking, and I know we've decided at the board level, we're moving forward in the ag direction. And speaking with the ag teacher about what the needs really are out there. The need is just to have a space out there. And what I mean by that is that could be utilized for numerous different things. One of the discussions I had with our new ag teacher was she'd like to have the ability to bring in animals if she needed to. But you didn't have a space for that, right? So I think as we try to rethink that space, we know the classroom needs a renovation. We know that area that's kind of in the shop area, part of that needs to be that space for that ag experience is what I'll call it, right? We also don't want to completely pigeonhole ourselves. We have an area right now that is dedicated and utilized for woodworking. We'd probably renovate that area. So it's going to be an area that we're going to be able to use for something, whether it's minimal in that ag experience or custodians use it. The space is there. We don't need to reinvent it. As we look at what we were looking at last year compared to what we were doing this year, one of the comments that they made is, you know, with the renderings that we had last year, we were putting a new bathroom in. They said, utilize what exists and remodel instead. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't have a great direction for you other than that the strong recommendation would be to remodel what's there, seal up what's there. Because that space, and one of the comments they made is this is what we do every day, right? Because as long as the foundation, the bones of that building are good, we just will utilize it, 5,000 or so square feet that we have. So that's kind of the direction I'm moving now with it, or getting more information on. Questions?
Was there a deal, do we have, somebody say once upon a time we have water underneath there somewhere?
There, so that's one of the things they're aware of too. There is a basement to that building up there. And so the last time we had some heavy rain, there was some water. So, and they're aware of that. And so that's gonna be something that's taken into consideration. Yeah.
I'm excited to see the price tag, and what we can do with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, I want to be upfront with this as well. You know, I think as we thought this process through last year, it was kind of, let's just get a fix in there quick and whatever it takes. As we slowed down a little bit in the process and then had the opportunity to kind of meet with some different groups that we know might be willing to donate funds, and we can find some different areas for funds. We can look to probably sell what we have out there from the welding standpoint. Because I think that's gonna offset probably more than what we think, some of the cost of the renovation. We'll wanna be prepared, just be prepared for what that price might be as far as comparatively what we had envisioned last year to what we might move forward with this year.
I think the reality is, no matter what, some solution has to be gotten to.
Correct.
Otherwise, we're gonna just have them having class in the
Yeah.
gym or something.
Correct.
I think that classroom and that situation out there can go beyond this year.
And I think, you know, one of the things that we've talked a little bit about is if we're gonna do it, let's do it. Let's do it right, right? Let's utilize. We talk about this all the time. We need square footage for stuff. So let's utilize all the square footage that we can out there. It just might be for some different purposes.
I think now that we've, like I say, we've kind of made the point of we're gonna want to go in ag direction, maybe not so much the mechanical side of things. We've had people step up and donate money. Let's do it right. You know, let's have a good space for the kids and the teacher so they can accomplish what they want to do, I think. Like I say, we've been throwing Band-Aids on that thing since we were in
Yes.
school, right?
Well,
The thing's a disaster, you know, but
I was actually looking for some blueprints for it. And so in going through that, I find all the blueprints for all of the renovations that we've done here, add-ons, all kinds of things, but I can't find the blueprints for that place because it just gets, you know, put to the side.
So I'll continue to work with GTG on what this could look like and some renderings and things moving forward.
And I think as you're doing that, it would be good to have, when we start to look at it, what the estimate will be for what we could sell
Yeah.
what the cost savings of buying them both will be.
Yeah.
We kind of see it.
Full
all in
picture.
one big picture.
Yeah, so you can, the equity plan's on there. Really what this consists of for the most part is all of our policies, that kind of revolve around equity. So there'll be some updating that certainly goes into this when we do some things with Assembly that might change some of those policies. We'll have to re-upload them. But I guess I would have you scroll down to page 25. That kind of talks about our quantitative workforce analysis, as well as some qualitative objectives and quantitative objectives. Really what this is a breakdown of our staff. By gender and race, right? We have increasingly leaned in one direction, as you can see. And so when we started developing what our quantitative objectives is, you know, some of it obviously we're limited by, and it's not to say that any of this is negative, but I mean, you can see right on there that 65% of our staff at the current point in time is female. It's just who our staff is. A lot of that is, part of it's positive in that we don't have turnover in some of our areas, but as we develop some of the plans for quantitative objectives to reach a level of equity, whatever that might mean, that those are the numbers that are taken into consideration.
How do we factor in applications? You can only hire for the pool of applicants you have.
You are correct.
And there's just a lot of guess overwhelmingly now, more female than male teachers.
Especially elementary.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's why I don't want to say we take this with a grain of salt, Ashley, but at the same time, we need to do exactly what you said and factor in some of the things that are not in our control.
There's some objectives or goals in there, so.
Yeah.
Trying,
Trying, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
like I say, you can only,
There's two things. We don't have control of our applicant pool and regardless of what plan may be in place, our final objective is to hire the best candidate. So.
questions, then?
No, you addressed the one question I had was, there's out there, the updated policies within here, but.
Yeah.
Once those get adjusted. Take care of it.
Motion to approve the equity plan.
So,
Second. Say aye.
Right.
The plan is approved.
Yeah, I just have a few things, you know, start of the school year, it seems like, and with Zach here, he can speak to some of these things as well. It's gone fairly well. Some of the concerns I think we had as we went through the process with the 4-day week, I certainly haven't heard them. You know, one of the concerns was childcare, right, or possibly space. At this point in time, we reached out to Growing Greatness last spring and offered them to utilize our facilities on Monday if their numbers became too high, and they have not reached out. So that indicates to me that they don't have increased numbers to the point that they can't house what they need from a daycare standpoint. The other thing that we've dealt with sparingly, and this is maybe what you can speak to as well, is, you know, one of the things we want to address is that transportation issue on Mondays if we have activities, right? So we are offering it. I don't know that we're having to utilize it yet. What, maybe just one. So, but we want to have it out there for kids, right? And so if we need to, we've said that, you know, we can utilize coaches with vans. If we have that many, we can utilize a bus and we'll do those things. So I know a lot of those concerns, and I know as we went through this process, we knew that a lot of those concerns would be voiced, but they may not end up being major concerns when we started the year. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. I'll kind of segue this into the data reporting piece. At the October meeting, we plan to report on data, comparative data from this year to last. What I can tell you that the areas that we'll be focusing on are things like behavior and referrals, student attendance, staff attendance, academic, whatever academic data we have at that point that we can compare cohorts with. If there are things in there, you're like, I'd really like to see this, shoot me an email, please, because as we start compiling that, it shouldn't be too difficult to put that in there as well. But we wanted to get a little bit more of a time period in before we had true comparative data. The Iowa School Performance Profile is another measure that we'll be able to use to compare, understanding that's about to be released here shortly this fall. That's going to be all of our scores from last year. They have pushed out an embargoed version to superintendent, so I have had an opportunity to see it. And I'm thinking within the next week or so, it should be released publicly. Another measure that we can use, obviously not until next year, but for ISAS data and those types of things. Questions on that before I move into the election piece?
Do we plan to send out for another survey or put a poll up to get community sentiment, family sentiment?
Yeah, I think we will. I think a lot of districts have satisfaction after implementation, right? So I think the question needs to be is, do we want that done at the quarter or at the semester? Yeah, I want to give, we will obviously want to have enough baseline time and data to so they truly had adjusted to this before we ask those questions.
What we would typically do is do a quick pulse check. So like if we can do polling through our Facebook on elementary and high school pages. Like give a few different options, just a quick, how is it going? And then you do the longer form survey at
Semester. Yeah. Yep.
Again, I don't know what our capabilities are or if there's considerations with if the results are public, I don't know. But I think getting a quick pulse check just.
Yep. And that's certainly something we can do. I don't know what our capabilities are either as technology, so, but we have people that do, so I can find out.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fancy, just
Yeah.
give people a chance to what people that are comfortable talking to.
Yeah.
Speaking.
Other questions or suggestions on that? Or move on to election. Okay, so November board election, the filing is due tomorrow by 5 to Julie for anyone who wants to run. I'll just go through some scenarios with you in case we have nobody run for a seat. Which is possible, right? So if no candidates file paperwork to run, people will still have the ability to write somebody in. Okay, so that's the first option that would occur. So if we have nobody file paperwork to be on the ballot, it becomes basically a write-in vote. The way a write-in vote, well, what if people write somebody in that doesn't want to see it? They have the ability to say no on a write-in vote. So if they don't want to take it, they can say no on a write-in vote. So the next question is, what if there's no write-ins and nobody files paperwork to be on the ballot? Then within 30 days, the board has to appoint somebody. Appoint somebody who would accept. That person would serve until the next election. So they wouldn't serve the entirety of the term, they'd serve for 2 years. And 2 years, when the next election rolls around, that seat would be placed on the ballot for the remainder of the term for 2 more years. A lot can happen between now and tomorrow at 5. But it could be a reality on it. Now, also, if nobody files the paperwork to be on the ballot, it doesn't mean somebody couldn't actively campaign as a write-in, right? So, yeah. I just wanted to update you a little bit on some of the things that could occur and may happen, or some of the possibilities that are out there, and see what questions you might have about that process.
If we appoint somebody, they can say no, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole process behind appointment. So typically, when you appoint someone, it's someone who has come forward and said that they would be willing to serve. It's not just us saying,
Throw a dart.
correct, correct. it's probably someone who has said I would be willing to do it. So then it's opened up and, and the board would have the discretion to appoint.
Does an appointment have to have a majority vote to get on the board then?
Yes,
I don't have anybody in mind. I'm just asking theoretical questions here.
yeah. Yes, because they have to be approved.
Right. So then do they have to go to that class?
Yes, the answer to that is yes for anyone, who
For
any,
all of you.
however they're appointed.
No.
No, not only, not him, it would be just the two newly elected.
That's what I
Anybody
wanted to
newly
make sure
elected.
on that too.
Yes.
I'll go back on that.
It'd be 2 years
But when you're reelected.
when you're reelected. Now, I know that, the AEA will be offering it in like a web-based format, and I think that Allerton County will also offer something in a web-based format, a 90-minute web-based format.
So if it comes to an appointment. Is it something where like the school puts out, say, if you're interested? Is there paperwork or
If
is it
you're interested, contact.
Yeah,
you.
there's a notice that we have to publish and there's requirements on those deadlines, but. Essentially, we have 30 days from the election day to appoint somebody.
Does it get published that we have an open seat or is it just a word
Yes.
of mouth?
No, I mean, we've had it published
Oh, we have.
as well, yeah. And I actually, the gal from the paper had contacted me about information on it too, so. There's some things to be aware of in case it were to come to some of those, what the protocol and the procedures look like.
And the appointment would happen after the election.
Correct.
You basically, if you're thinking about it, you basically want them in place by January, right? Because. The organizational meeting actually is in December, but at the organizational meeting, that's when we'll announce that we have an open seat. And then, maybe it's 30 days from the organizational meeting. But we have to announce in that organizational meeting that we have an open seat and.
If
we're
there's a
looking to
write-in
appoint
that's not accepted the seat.
Right,
Or if
And if
there's
a
no,
write-in-
or if there is no write-in,
And if a write-in wins and accepts, it's a 4-year.
correct.
yes,
So I think the other messaging is too, if nobody turns the paperwork in on time, it doesn't mean that someone still couldn't technically campaign as a write-in.
To do it right, you're down to like 20 hours now, right? It's 5 o'clock tomorrow.
it's fine.
Yeah.
And they have to be turned into me. There was a time when you could turn in at the county courthouse or me. They've switched that now, so.
Because you need more to do.
I think it's really to remove the element of surprise.
Gotcha, we're just aware of who's on the ballot.
Makes sense. All right.
So yeah, I guess, yeah, if it's a 30 days from election, 30 days from,
Yeah.
you know, that'd be,
We'll have to look into that part.
because if it's 30 days from election, you'd have to have it appointed before the December meeting.
Right, so I almost feel like
The
it's
organization.
from the organizational, because I know it said that at the organizational meeting, we have to announce that we have a seat open and unless something happened at the election.
What's that?
Second Tuesday of November,
Yes,
That's
the
the seventh?
11th,
9th.
11th, I think so.
The only other thing I had is just a reminder that, the IASB annual convention is November 19th through 21st this year. And there's a link on there too that will kind of take you to the page of that convention as well.
Where's wisdom from anybody? You do it. Yeah, well, we'll take a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second. Don't say aye. You're good, 7-4.